Great day, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. We are super excited that you all are here. We know that it's Saturday and you could be doing so many other things, but you are here with us and we don't take that lightly. So we are happy to have you here to collaborate with you, for us to pay it forward from when we were leaders. We really wanted this type of support and desired it. So we were happy to receive it from mentors like Principal Hurt, Principal Kafele. So we are thankful for them. And tell us if you're celebrating anything great this week. If you've been following me, I'm celebrating the fact that I have gotten my life together with my workouts every day this week. So while I finish feeding our feed through Tammy, I'm going to turn it over to her and she's going to finish greetings. Good morning, Tammy.
Good morning, Sheka, and good morning, everybody. Welcome to Saturday morning PD with Sheka and Tammy. We see that Dr. Roz is on. Hi, Mr. Burgess and Cheryl Lynn. We are so thrilled to have everybody. Thank you for being with us. As Sheka said, we know that you could be doing many other things this Saturday morning. So, as always, we're super excited to have you joining us. Be sure that you drop in the chat where you're joining us from. Hey, Principal Hurd, and we see Lamont Ratchford is with us. Alicia Babin and Richard Davis. Guys, thank y'all for joining and being with us this morning. If you were on with Principal Hurd, you heard him telling us how important it is for us to dream big. Thank you so much, Principal Hurt, for being that coach, as Principal Josh Tovar calls you, because you are absolutely an inspiration. And we really appreciate that pep talk this morning, because it's important for us to be in that space where we want to take our schools to the next level. So thank you. We see also that we are joined this morning by many of our friends who join us every week. But for anyone that might be new joining us this morning, we like to be sure that everybody knows exactly what we do and why we're doing it. Shika mentioned she's no longer a principal. I still sit in that principal seat. But we want to be able to strengthen that camaraderie that is needed, because sometimes sitting in the principal's chair feels like a very isolated space to be. So we're trying to pay this forward in a way that allows us to present things to folks that we needed when we were first starting out along the way as well. Hi, Principal Kafele, and we see
Good
that
morning.
Josh has joined us. Thank you guys so much for being with us this morning. We, Shika and I both are turnaround principals. My school is an elementary school. Her school was a middle school, and we were able to do some things in our schools that helped us to change the academic situation for our school. And so we're here again with that level of experience to share with you guys. We also are here because transitioning for us was very difficult. It was difficult, and as I said, felt isolated. So we don't want that to be anybody else's reality. At Create and Educate, we offer consulting and literary services. So if you are interested in any of the work that we do, please visit our website to learn more about Create and Educate. You can find us at www.createandeducate.solutions. Also, take a look at our SEL catalog to see our 5 super strengths to becoming a real resilient school. We have a framework that we use that's based on respect, excellence, accountability, leadership, and everything that we do is undergirded with literacy. So if you're interested in that, please visit and take a look at that. You can also see on the website how your school can become a Phoenix school. And if you're interested, you just reach out to us. We're happy at all times to be able to help. We also want to just remind everybody that our collaborative podcast airs every week on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m., and that is Eastern Standard Time. I see that we have lots of visitors who are from the West Coast, but we're on at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday night. And we actually use that platform to be able to engage parents, teachers, and leaders and put them in a collaborative space so that we can try to work together to solve some of the problems that we are facing today in education. Finally, we also work with independent authors to help our students gain access to more culturally relevant and representative books. So if you're interested and need to find out more about us, again, visit our website. If you haven't already done so, please reserve your copy of our book. It doesn't have to be lonely at the top, where Shika and I outline our leadership journey and some of those things that we went through that Principal Hurt talked about today when we experienced some trials and were able to learn from those failures, because the failure is a part of that journey. So if you haven't reserved that copy, please be sure to do so. Lastly, guys, you can follow us on any social media, and we would gladly be able to get back with you. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Spreaker. So this morning, we are so super excited to get started and to be able to talk with you guys today about 6 literacy experiences that children should have every day. Before we start that, though, we want to just say today is World Kindness Day. So if you haven't done something already that's kind for somebody, please make sure you do something kind today, because today is World Kindness Day and the world could stand a little more kindness. Again, we're super excited to be following Principal Hurt and his amazing session this morning. And we are the segue into Principal Kafele's morning session. So we are elated to be able to have those two giants on either side of us and supporting us, as Sheka said, as mentors and as coaches. So as we get started this morning, we're going to be looking at, as I said, 6 literacy experiences that children should have every day. This is based on an article that you can find that's called Every Child Every Day. It's by Richard Allington and Rachel Gabriel. This is some work that they did, and they present these high quality experiences that they believe all children should get every single day in literacy so that they can become successful, engaged readers. And the experiences are so imperative and important for struggling readers. But the thing that they have really emphasized is that those are the students who are least likely to be the ones that get these experiences. So we want to just talk about their research, because what they found is, although these are the 6 things that should be happening every day, not in every classroom are these things being seen. So we're going to get started. Sheka, you ready to start us off?
I'm ready. Thank you, Tammy. And good morning again to everyone. As Tammy stated, we are focusing on literacy this morning. A lot of people have reached out to us because this is an area where they feel like they need some help. So we definitely want to be able to provide the information that we can that can help you all and all students to be able to exceed in reading, because we know that this is a very pivotal thing for students to be able to read properly and at the right level. So the first strategy is that every child reads something he or she chooses. And this is really important, because the more that students understand, the more likely they are to continue to read, and the more likely they are to take those reading skills to the next level. So this is where a lot of times those interest inventories come into play. Sometimes when we think about the interest inventories, we are thinking from the realm of, oh, I'm doing this for my long range plans, and I'm going to put this information, into whatever plan that is and turn it in. But interest inventories about what students really like is the data that teachers need to be able to help children select things that they really truly love to read. And if you don't know your students, if you don't know what they like, it's going to be hard for you to build your classroom libraries around things that they really enjoy reading. And I remember a story from another teacher that talked about, he was a male coach. One of the things that attracted him to reading was a book that was by his favorite athlete, Deion Sanders. And the first line of the book talked about I can't say everything that it said on here, but it was people with loose morals and some things that was going on in Deion Sanders' life. But he said from that first line of the book, he was instantly hooked for reading the book. And from then, he developed a love for reading. So if you really know your students and know what they love, what they like, it's easy to put those things into their hands. And again, you have to have that relationship with them. And as leaders of your building, you also have to be intentional about setting aside funding to make sure that your teachers can build their classroom libraries with books that their students are going to love. So you have to also make sure, and one thing that I made sure to do was I looked at my demographics to see who was in my building. I wanted to make sure we had books that represented every student. I wanted students to see themselves on the walls, in the classrooms, in the books, because all of those things matter when you're talking about making sure children are reading something that they choose. They're going to be a lot more likely to choose something they see themselves in and something that they like and enjoy.
And just to make sure we are really clear about that whole interest piece, because that is super important. And administrators, this is one of the things that you can use to support with your teachers the importance of setting aside that independent reading time. You have to make space in the day for students to be able to read and to have access to materials that they want to read, because that is what's going to make them a better reader. Reading helps you to be a better reader. So making sure that you're really spending the funds, as Sheka said, on building those classroom libraries, and not just building classroom libraries, because it really is important to invest in those titles that are important to students. And those are, as she said, culturally relevant materials, but also you can think about what's trending right now. When I taught first grade, one of the things that every little girl and some of the boys wanted to read in the classroom was Junie B. Jones. Junie B. Jones was just a very mischievous and fun character to connect with, and they loved it. So you have to pay attention to what has captured your kids' interest at this time and make sure that those are the kind of materials that you are investing in. A second thing that the researchers have told us that is important to happen in every class every day is that every child is reading accurately. And this means that they are reading material that is at the just right reading difficulty level, is what they call that. And what they say is spending more time reading doesn't help unless students are reading at 98% or higher accuracy. So when students are reading accurately, that helps to solidify their word recognition, their decoding, and their word analysis skills. So what you have to think about in this regard is, how do you always stay on top of that just right reading level? You have to have your teachers in a space where they know that they have to regularly progress monitor where the students are, so that they are being instructed at their instructional level. Because even when they're reading books that are easier for them, they're getting fluency, but they are not able to practice those decoding skills because they already know those words. So running records or reading records, whatever your school is using, should be administered on a regular schedule, in addition to those that are required by your school for and end of the year. So that's a very important aspect of making sure kids can read at that 98% accuracy.
And those are all great points, Tammy. And I'll just add to that with working with the interventionist. One of the things that I try to make sure that they also know about students who may struggle in reading, they may not have experienced a lot of success. So their self-esteem about reading, the way they feel about reading is all centered around what is happening while they're reading. So it's the 98% accuracy is important because they have to have those wins. They have to feel successful, or else they're going to want to give that up and just move on to something else, or do another activity. So you have to make sure they're experiencing those wins and those successes in reading. So the next point or the next strategy is that every child reads something he or she understands, meaning that they comprehend it. And this is very important. A lot of times when we're talking about interventions, sometimes we start to focus on the skill and the drill, but we have to connect the skill and the drill to something that is important. It brings it into the context of meaning through reading. So we have to make sure that we're isolating the skill and drill, but we're connecting it to reading. And the only way that we're knowing if students are comprehending or understanding something is that I think the best thing to do is the conferring. And the best teachers that I have seen with conferring really were intentional about logging it, making sure that you're asking the students the right questions. They go back to the students later and say, hey, I remember when you told me this about this book. This really builds relationships with students because you can see their eyes light up and like, oh yeah, you remember what I said. All of those types of things are really important to children. So just making sure that they're comprehending what they're reading, and you're not just saying, oh, let's stop and read. You have to be intentional about making sure that as the teacher, that they are understanding what they're reading, because if they're not understanding it, they're not putting all the pieces together to be able to make them better readers.
And the important thing for us to just remember, I think, too, Sheka, in the sense of interventions, especially, is if you only focus on those isolated skills, then what happens is it doesn't connect the reader back to the material that they're reading. And the
Exactly.
connections are a part of what helps you to understand what you're reading. So comprehension is largely built upon students being able to connect with the text. And when you don't have those connections and you're not able to make meaning from what you're reading, then that creates that struggle for those struggling readers. And I think it's important for us too to point out that it isn't, when one of those things that people often say about kids when they struggle with reading is, oh, they just are wired differently. They're just not going to get that
Right.
reading the way that reading should be taught. But what we have to do is we have to figure out like what it is we need, what piece is missing, because I don't believe that there is any such thing as being wired differently
Exactly.
unless there is a disability. So
Right.
what we have to do is be able to figure out how we need to connect with those students. And one of the things that that article suggested was through authentic reading experiences. And those authentic reading experiences become much more meaningful in those situations, as you said, where the teacher comes over to have that reading conference and can
Mm-hmm.
confer with the students. So it's just a powerful experience when you're having your kids to really focus on understanding exactly what they're reading and being able to make those text connections. So we actually have more points, guys, and we're going to finish us up with our literacy suggestions for what kids should have as experiences every single day on next week. But before we leave, we have to spend a little bit of time, and of course we are not going to be in Principal Kafele's way, so we want to just give you guys some information, because we have some folks who have been pouring out and outcries about help for their children. And Shika mentioned this before. People want to help their children at home. And sometimes they just don't know how. Fortunately for us, Sheka and I have some materials that we can connect you with. So if you're interested in anything that you need for your child for literacy, to help them with practicing those skills at home, or math, honestly, we probably could support you in the contents science and social studies as well. But just reach out to us so that we can make that connection for you, because we have vetted something that we do believe is very beneficial and can be helpful to your children.
And it is, like Tammy stated, is very quality material, very aligned to the standards. I'm using it with my own daughter, and so each afternoon we set aside time for math and ELA, because both of my children were virtual, so that did have an impact. And as we talked about, I don't even know if we got to that point yet. The next point that we were making is about the connection with writing. And sometimes with virtual, it's hard to make that connection with writing. So that's one of the things I really like about the resources, is that we are able to use that skill of writing to reinforce the things that we're working on. And it has really helped her move tremendously. So if you would like those resources, even if you're a teacher and you want to extend these resources out to your own parents, sometimes we assume that in certain areas, oh, well, they don't have anybody at home to help, or, no one's going to do it. You'll be surprised how many parents want something to do with their children. Ask them, hey, if you want to spend some extra time with your child in the evening, I have some resources. You would be very surprised of the parents who would want to take advantage of it. So if you just go to our website and fill out the contact form and put remediation resources, we will definitely get you that information so that you're able to get that through our partner that we're working with right now. The last thing that we would like to do before we log off is that we want to extend our heartfelt condolences and prayers to the staff members in Mooresville, North Carolina, where a student died by suicide on campus. So we know that there are several students that are just really in a bad place. They're hurting. Sometimes I don't think as schools we may know the best way to address all of this with everything that has happened with the pandemic. So we do have another partnership with Dr. Gil Nome and the 10 Big Bets. He is a associate professor for Harvard Medical School. So he has partnered with us to be able to offer school leaders and school leadership teams a free book. He has written a grant for the book and is giving them out exclusively through our broadcast and through our company. And the 10 Big Bets really helps schools and leadership teams focus on how to make students feel like they belong to school and how to support them social and emotional in their learning. So a shout out to our schools that have already reached out and gotten their free book, or if you haven't received it, it's on the way in Las Vegas. And we have 2 schools in Texas. Shout out to our parent who has already reached out for resources, because we definitely want what we're doing to be helpful to you all, and for us to be able to help you find solutions that are going to be beneficial to you as educators, but also for students.
Because it's about the impact for us. So
it is.
Thanks. And if you guys are interested, as Sheka said, the materials that Gil have, as well as the materials for remediation, are very high quality. So just let us know if you need something. And again, remember, today is World Kindness Day. So make sure you're doing something kind today and every day.
And we will finish these 6 tips next week for sure. We're not going to leave you all hanging. So, oh yes, that's Mr. Davis. Thank you so much. We hope you enjoy your package that we sent you. Thank you all for joining us, and have a great rest of your Saturday. Join us on Principal Cafe. That's where we are going next. So thank you.
Hi guys. Thank y'all.